So this one, last time Juyop asked me what this is. You see this is the last slide from last time. That we know that in Old English, there was this language contact, right? Language contact situation between English and Scandinavian languages, right? And Scandinavian languages, we call them as a group Old Norse, right? Old Norse, meaning languages from the north, right? So the language contact situation between Old English and Old Norse was very intense, meaning that these two groups of people coexisted, right? And they lived happily. So they borrow many everyday words, right? You don't see that in Latin and English, right? Because you only borrow from Latin words that we don't have, words that we need. For example, religious terms, because Old English speaking people were pagan, right? Remember? So we borrow only words that we need. But with Old Norse, the situation was different, right? Because we borrow a lot of words that are everyday terms, including things that we eat, including things that we wear, and so on, including verbs, right? So sometimes you will have what we call doublets, right? Two words that have the same origin, right? But one has gone through the sound change that we know as palatalization, right? And then when the Viking people came, right? The Old Norse speaking people came, we borrow it again, but that word will not undergo the palatalization, right? So that's why we have two words which used to mean the same, right? But because we borrow two words at different times, we use them in different contexts like that. So we call them doublets. And then there is this one that I would like to point out. We also borrow not only words, right? Because the contact situation was intense. We borrow not only words, but also grammar, right? Which is very important because we don't normally borrow grammar forms from other languages, right? Unless the contact was intense. So here we borrow infinitive markers. ATT is an infinitive marker from Old Norse. AT is like the word to, okay? The word to in English. To do, to go, like that. AT is to. So this is Old Norse, right? AT is at, which is Old Norse. Do, do, to do something, that's Old English. So when you put them together, you have at do, right? And then the T here dropped off, so you get ado, right? So which is a combination of Old Norse and Old English. So ado here meaning to do. Have you ever heard of this play by Shakespeare? Let's see. Much Ado About Nothing. Right? So the word ado here is that word that we have. This is the Old Norse, O-N, and do is just the verb from Old English, right? So it means what? Much to do about nothing, right? Much to do about nothing, like that. And we use that, the word ado, as in like without further ado, like that. Meaning without further delay, without further things to do, without further details, like that. So we use it as a noun. So from here is to do as the verb, right? And then ado as a noun, like that. Which means nowadays like difficulty or delay, something like that. Okay, the next thing we move on to is going to be grammar, right? So Old English grammar. Now we'll first start off with nouns, articles, and adjectives because these three are related, right? So when you combine them, they make noun phrases, right? So we'll talk about them together. And then we'll move on to verbs and other things, okay? Pronouns and other things. So let's first look at nouns and articles and adjectives in Old English. Now, Old English is what we call a synthetic, right? Synthetic rather than analytic language. So an analytic language is a language that uses prepositions and word order to show grammatical relationships. So in an analytic language, you see a lot of morphemes, right? A lot of morphemes, a lot of freestanding morphemes, like of here, right? It's not attached to something else. So it's kind of freestanding in that sense. So the son of John. So here you have John as the possessor, right? Possessor and possessing the son, right? So of here is a separate morpheme, right? That is not attached to the noun son or is not attached to the noun John. So we call this analytic, okay? But in a synthetic language, you use inflections. You use inflection to indicate grammatical relationship. So the grammatical relationship in the son of John is possession, right? Possessive relationship. Now, in a synthetic language, you don't do that. You don't use a freestanding morpheme. You don't use a freestanding word, but you use inflections to do that, right? So in Old English, we have John's son, right, with an S here, right? So S is not a freestanding morpheme, right? It's not like an individual morpheme that's separated from John, right? But it's attached, right? It's attached to John. And in modern English convention, we have to write an apostrophe here, right? Just to avoid confusion with the plural, right? But the thing is, it's S, right? It is S that is the inflection. So there is this maybe two groups of languages that you need to know, analytic and synthetic. So modern English or present day English is more towards the analytic domain, the analytic end rather than the synthetic end, right? So you can also think of this as a continuum from left to right, right? One is synthetic, one is analytic. So it's not plus or minus, but you can have like a high degree of synthetic language like that. So modern English is towards the towards the analytic side, okay? But we still have some inflections, right, to indicate grammatical relationship. We still have some, but not as many as Old English. In Spanish also, in this one, Juan está escribiendo melo. So here the verb itself is just escribir, which is to write. And then yendo is ing, like writing, like that. Me is to me, lo is it. So he is writing it to me, like that. So here, as you can see, the me and the it, they are stuck together, right, as one word with the word to write, the verb itself. So we call that Spanish is a synthetic language. Okay? Now, Old English is a synthetic language, right, towards the synthetic end. Now, in Old English, as you know, it's a synthetic language, so you have to have a lot of inflections, including on nouns, on verbs, on everything, adjectives, adverbs, everything. So when we talk about Old English nouns, pronoun, verbs, articles, you'll see inflections on everything, right? So inflections are important, and we don't rely on word order, right? Because we already have inflections to tell us who is doing what, who is possessing whom, and so on. Old English nouns, articles, and adjectives show more or less similar endings because they are grammatically related. As I said, they make up noun phrases. They create noun phrases when they are combined, right? And the inflections indicate, the inflections on articles, nouns, and adjectives indicate case, number, and gender. So 3 pieces of information, right? So you don't need any word order because you already know the case. Who is doing what? Is this the subject? Is this the object? Is this the direct object? Number, singular, plural. Modern English still has that, right? Number, S or without S, plural or singular. We have that. Modern English doesn't have gender anymore, but Old English does. Okay? Now, let's look at nouns in detail. Nouns in Old English can be classified into many groups, and these groups were inherited from Germanic, meaning that they are like that from the Germanic period. Okay? So we have three main groups, and within each group you have like subgroups: strong, weak, and minor. Strong, weak, and minor. And these are just names, okay? These are just labels that we gave to them, right? There's nothing healthy about these nouns. There's nothing weak about these nouns. We just call them strong. Strong because this is the majority of nouns, so we call them strong, like that. Weak, this is the minority group, like that. And minor, they are irregular, like that. So weak or strong, they are just names, right? They are just labels. There's nothing like healthy, wholesome about these nouns, right? So don't think about the meaning. Strong here just means they are the majority, all right? And weak nouns are the minority, and minor here, they are just irregulars, okay? Now we have three groups: strong, weak, and minor. And strong nouns are nouns whose stem end with a consonant. So this is from Germanic, right? And most of the words will end with a consonant, like that. Most of nouns will end with a consonant, so we call them strong nouns. And in strong noun, within strong noun, you have three genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. Also in weak nouns, you also have masculine, feminine, and gender. And gender here is not natural gender, right? The word that should be biologically female could be male in gender, in grammatical gender, okay? So each of these groups show characteristic endings depending on case, number, and gender, right? So nobody knows why a noun is strong, right? Why a noun is weak, like that. So we just, as learners of Old English, we know that they are strong because they show similar endings. So we put them into the same group, okay? Where's my marker? So just think about, for example, let me switch to this. So just think about like this. Just think about verbs in Korean, right? You have so many groups of verbs, like this one is one. Jitta, where? To build, right? To build. How do you conjugate it? How do you put the inflection on it? So this thing will become zero, right? Jiyotta, like that, right? Jibul jiyotta, like that, right? But then there's also another group, potta, right? To take off. When you conjugate it, this thing remains, right? So, podatta, like that. So, nouns in Old English are like this. So you don't know why this thing will go away, but we know that they exhibit either this pattern or that pattern. So we put them, let's call this strong group. Let's call this weak group, like that, okay? So there's no telling why it's strong, why it's weak, but we just know because they show the same endings. So we put them in the same group, right? So if I ask you, natta, which group should be put it in? This group or this group? This thing remains or not when you conjugate it? Na atta, right? So this thing goes away, so you put it in this group. And so we do that, and let's call it a strong group. And let's call the other group weak group, like that, because they show similar endings, right? But there's no telling. There's no telling, meaning that I cannot tell you why it's strong, why it's weak, right? That because just because we know that they show the similar characteristics, okay? And we just name them strong because there are so many of them. We name them weak because this is the minority group, like that. Now, we know that nouns show different cases, right? Different cases. Now, you need to know this. Case is the grammatical category that is marked on nouns, pronouns, and adjectives. So everything is marked for case and gender and number. But when we talk about case, case shows grammatical relationships with other elements, right? So we have four major cases, right? So four grammatical cases: nominative, accusative, genitive, and dative. And you need to know all. Nominative is subject and subject complement. people have no difficulty recognizing what a subject is, right, in this class. So subject is before a verb, basically, right? And subject complement, we usually use it after the be verb, after is, am, are, or was, or were, right? So David is a student. David here is in the nominative case because it's a subject. And student is also in a nominative case because it's a subject complement like that. You see the be verb here, right? So this is easy. You can say David is handsome. The word handsome, adjective, that is subject complement, right? Because it's after a be verb. And it has to be the nominative case in Old English. Okay, so this is good. Accusative case is the direct object. Direct object case, we call it accusative. So he hit the ball here is the direct object. You know that, right? Direct object comes after the verb. I killed someone, I ate something, and so on, right? Hit the ball, so the ball is the direct object or accusative case. Genitive case, this is easy, possessive, right? This is John's house, okay? John has to be in the possessive case or genitive case. You may call one or the other. Now, notice that house is not genitive, okay? It's John that is genitive, okay? House is what? House is nominative, right? House is nominative because it's after the be verb, remember? So the main noun is house. This is house, right? So house is nominative, but genitive is John. John has to be marked, remember? This is the house of John, right? Same thing. So John here is in the genitive case or possessive case. House is not. House is nominative because house is a subject complement of is, right? Dative is the indirect object, or you can call object of a preposition. So you'll see a preposition not of because of is genitive. Like to or in, within, above, over, other prepositions are good. So Mary here is in the dative case or the indirect object because it's after the to, okay? And of course, these examples are from modern English. So you don't see any case ending, right? You don't see any inflection because modern English has none, right, in terms of case like this. But we can show you. This is the strong masculine noun. Masculine is one of the three genders. Strong is because they exhibit the same patterns, right, as other strong nouns, and also the stem N in the consonant, right, G. Now, you see 4 cases: nominative, accusative, genitive, and dative. And then the nouns will be marked for singular, plural also, right? Different number, right? This is number, singular, plural. And we also know that this is masculine noun, right? So this is masculine. Now, kinning, this is the base form. This is the base form, meaning without anything. Nominative has nothing on. Nominative has nothing on. It's the default case. So you don't add any ending. So zero ending, zero inflection, right? This is the base form, okay? The baseline. Now, accusative typically exhibit nothing also, right? Kinning exhibit nothing, right? For masculine nouns, right? Nothing. But when you have genitive, possessive, kinning, you see kinning plus es. I underline the es. Es, that's the genitive ending, right? And it means of the king, right? Of the king, or the king with an apostrophe s, the kings, okay? Dative, kinninge. So you add e, one e. It means to the king, by the king, and other prepositions, not of, but other prepositions are fine. To the king, about the king, whatever preposition you have. So you see G. E. When you see E, you know that, oh, it has to mean one of the prepositions. To, by, about the king, whatever. Right? If it's in the plural, the nominative will be marked with S. So as, as, kinningas, like that. Accusative, kinningas, so typically the same. Genitive, kinninga, dative, kinningum. Right? So you see characteristic endings, right? They are all different, with the exception of nominative and accusative, of course. But all the other endings are different depending on whether it's singular or plural. S or R, dative singular A, and dative plural like that. Okay. So Old English speaking people will have no difficulty, even without the word order to help you, have no difficulty recognizing who is doing what to whom, right? And this is for feminine strong nouns, strong feminine nouns. Giful is gift. So the base noun is giful, right, without anything adding to it. But when you go to accusative, genitive, and dative, you have E added at the end. Plural, you have A and ina and like that. So this is a different group, right? It shows different endings from strong nouns, strong masculine nouns, right? So the two are different, as you can see, right? So other nouns that show the same pattern, right, of inflections will be put in this group, right? Strong feminine. And other nouns that show the same ending patterns as kinning will be put in this group like that. Okay? And you also have neuter, not feminine, not masculine. Neuter, you have a different ending, a different set of endings. What is interesting is that dative plural is always Dative plural is always Doesn't matter what group. Always. And nominative singular, doesn't matter what group, has a 0 ending. Now, what we'll do is we'll practice the concept of case. Right? So I'll use this handout. Okay, so word order, right, and modern English. So let's look at modern English. So you understand this already, right? Nominative, accusative, genitive, and dative, or instrumental, same thing. Subject, complement for nominative, accusative, direct object, genitive, possessive, and also you guys know partitive, translated as of plus x. Like partitive come from part, right? Part from whole. Like, for example, 12 of the people, right? Part, so 12 of the whole group. So we call this partitive, right? So when you have of partitive, you usually use the genitive case, okay? 12 of the people, some of the people, like that. So some of the people, like that. So this will be marked as the genitive case. So partitive, some of, many of, several of, and so on. So partitive, right? And dative for indirect object and other prepositions, we know. Now, in modern English, we have case endings, but we only have case endings on pronouns, not nouns. So nominative case, you use he, right? He, which is the form he, subject, like as in he loves me. But accusative, you use him, right? So two different cases. You see that? But for nouns, we don't have any case ending. David loves me. I love David. Same David, right? No marking. But for pronouns, we use case endings. Genitive, we say his car or the car of him, right? We have two ways of doing it. Dative, to him. So basically, how many forms do we have? He, him, his. Only 3. But we have 4 different cases, right, for pronouns. Now, in Old English, you have different endings. As you can see here, singular, plural, and then you have all these different endings like es, e, and if it's dative plural, like that. Okay? So what you need to know is how each case works, right? And also, this is a new thing. This is the word the, which is article in Old English. Again, everything has to be marked for case, right? Everything has to be marked for case, including the article the, okay? So depending on the gender of the noun and depending on the case of the noun, you have to choose the correct You have to choose the correct article. So if it's masculine nominative, you use se, which is the. If it's accusative, you use tone. This is the thorn, th, tone, which is again the, but it's for masculine accusative, and so on. If it's masculine genitive, you use that's, like that. So this is the idea of Old English. Now let's look at examples here. It will make it more clear to you. So say kinning, slow, ta quene. You have these nouns, right? In the front, on the front, kinning and quen, right? You have these. Now, in the first one, say kinning, you see the word say is the, right? Kinning has no marking, so it can be either nominative or accusative, right? But in this case, you know that it's nominative because of the word say. Say tells you, right? Say is only for nominative masculine say, right? So you know that it's the subject, nominative subject. Slow, killed, slew. Ta quene, the queen. Now, you can look at quene with the ending, right? Or without the ending because it's nominative. Right? This is accusative, no ending. But then the word ta tells you, right? The word ta tells you that it has to be accusative feminine, like that, you see? So you know that it works as the object. Now, it doesn't matter if I say ta quene slaw say kinning, right? If I say this, ta quene slow say kinning, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter the word order. It doesn't matter. You have to translate it as the man slew the queen. Right? The king, not the man, the king, I'm sorry. The king slew the queen. You have to translate it like that. Because why? Because ta tells you that it's object, accusative, and se tells you that it's nominative. So the word order doesn't matter, right? Word order doesn't matter. In number 2, you know that ta quena is the accusative case, right? Because you see the word ta, and quena is accusative, but it must be plural because it has the marker a, like that. So this is why I say that it's difficult, because you need to be familiar with all these clues, right? All these endings in order to be able to translate Old English, right? You need to know who is doing what, because word order doesn't matter. What matters is this thing, right? Se, right? Or ta, that tells you. In the second one, the queen slew the king. The queen here is what case? The queen here is, if you look at the translation, of course, it will tell you. The translation is the queen slew the king. That's modern English, right? So the queen here is what case? Subject, right? Subject, so nominative case. Now, what if you didn't have the translation like this? Say queen. Is it the subject or is it the object? Now you have to look at this table, right? Look at this table and look at seo. Seo, right? Seo. What case is seo? Yogi, right? Yogita, seo. So feminine nominative. Now you know that it's the subject because of seo, like that. So without the translation, without the modern English translation, you should be able to tell by looking at the table whether it's the subject, it's the object, or other things, right? What about the word tone? Tone kinning. Tone kinning. So you have to look at the table. Tone, where's tone? And you scan it, blah, and here, right? Accusative masculine, tone. So here, accusative masculine. So it has to be the object, like that. That's how you read Old English. That's how you understand Old English, right? Because everything is marked. Just like in Korean, right? You mark the subject with e or ga, krista ga, hakyoe, watsoyo, like that, right? And then you mark the object with ul or rul, like that, jipul, jiotsoyo, like that. So you know by just looking at the ending. Here again, just like Korean, you know by looking at the article, you know by looking at the ending of the noun, right? And other examples show the same concept. Other examples show the same concept that, say, king lays on the lap of the queen, right? Here, berme is lap, right? Lap, and then tare quene of the queen. So if you don't know what tare is, then you go to the table, right? You go to this table and look for the word tare. Where's tare? So here, right? Genitive feminine. So genitive, when you see the genitive, you translate it with of or apostrophe s, right? Genitive is of or apostrophe s. So tare quene is of the queen or the queens with an apostrophe s, like that. Again, this is not like modern English, right? Modern English we would mark with an apostrophe s. But in Old English, you don't have the apostrophe s. What you have is the case ending, right? And also the article that has to agree with it. And then tara quena, here you have a and also tara, which will tell you that it's genitive plural, like that. Now, what we'll do is first, I think you need to practice how to understand cases, right? Different cases. Now we'll work from modern English first, okay? So on the last page, you'll see different noun phrases underlined here. So first, I think you need to be familiarized with different cases, how case markings work. First, we'll start with modern English. Can you tell me what cases should these noun phrases be in? One, for example, Alfred ruled England. Alfred ruled England. So Alfred should be in what case? Nominative case, because it's the subject of rule. England should be in the accusative case or direct object, like that, right? And then we could do the Old English stuff, right? After you know how case endings work. So number 2, the Vikings attacked Alfred's kingdom. Now the Vikings, what case? Easy, right? Nominative. And also plural also, right? Nominative, plural, case and number. Alfred's kingdom. Which one is genitive? Alfred's, right? So Alfred is genitive. Kingdom. Kingdom is not genitive, right? Kingdom is not genitive because what's genitive is Alfred. Alfred is marked with an apostrophe s, right? So it's genitive. Kingdom is not, right? So kingdom is what case? Accusative, right? Attack what? Attack kingdom. So accusative, like that. Number 3, 12 of our crew were dead by the immoderate labor and ill food. Of our crew is genitive, right? You see the word of, partitive, right? Partitive case. Now 12 is not, right? 12 is not genitive, okay? 12 is just nominative, right? Because it's 12 were dead. 12 is the subject, right? So 12 is nominative, but of the crew, the word the crew has to be in the genitive case. Okay? Now I'll walk around and help you if you have questions. So I'll give you about maybe 5 minutes to mark these cases. You guys be careful when you see this kind of construction. He gave me a gift, or he gave a gift to me. So to me, this is clear, right? To me, it's clear that to me is the dative case, right? Indirect object, because there's a preposition here. So this is the dative case because the preposition will tell you. But now the word me here, there's no preposition to tell you, but it's the same, right? It's the same as he gave a gift to me. So me here is the dative case, and a gift also the accusative case. So this is accusative, right? Because in modern English you have 2 ways of saying the same thing. One way is to mark it with to. The other way is to not mark it, right? Just to use the case ending. So for things like he taught me, let's say, a lesson. 여기는 me is also dative, right? Because this is accusative. He taught a lesson to me, in other words. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's a noun or he taught me to speak, like that, or a verb phrase. Still dative. Me is dative. Still me is dative. Number 10. So number 4 to number 9. So we have the answers here. Number 10. I stayed but 2 months with my family and wife. Dative case, right? You see the word with? It's not genitive, right? It's not genitive because genitive is only my. My is already genitive. Like wife and family of me, right? Number 11, in my reach, you see the word in, right? So in my reach would be dative, not genitive, okay? Because genitive is my already. Number 12, in the woods, so dative. Number 13, in the hawk heads, dative, and also dative plural, right? So dative, plural. Number 14, told me something, right? Told something to me. So me here is like to me. When you have a ditransitive verb, right? A verb that has 2 objects, like told, give, put, and so on. So this is dative. It appears in overt acts, so we have dative, plural also. So now you understand how case markings work, right? In modern English. So in modern English, it's easy because you have all these clues, right? Preposition, with, in, to, and other preposition like from, for example. But in modern English, you rely on word order, right? The word order tells you natural smell is the subject of was, so it has to be in the nominative case like that, right? Now in Old English, you use the endings, right? Inflectional endings. Now what you need to do for today is translate 1, 2, and 3. Now just leave out the verb. Just leave out the verb. I underline some noun phrases here. Just choose the right noun and also the article, right? So do this from the table. Do this from the table. There's no word for children here, right? I didn't give you. So let's change it to the queens with an S. Here, the queen with the just singular. And now you can select. So now let's change to kings with an S. So the queen taught the kings to speak. So we have the kings with an S, right? Plural. So you have to select plural. Number 2, the word of the queen, kill the king. And number 3, the queen kissed the king. So you have to select the appropriate form, nominal form, the form of the noun, and also the appropriate article, the. I think I should explain also. In the first one, the queen taught the kings to speak, right? So the queen here in the first one is nominative, right? Nominative. So you have to use seo queen, right? Nominative, seo queen. So number 1. And the kings with an S would be dative plural, right? Taught something to the kings, so it would be dative plural. The dative plural is always right? Always So tam kiningum, like that. Number 2, the word of the queen killed the king, right? So the queen here is not the subject. It's not the nominative, right? It's the word that is the subject, right? So the king here, the queen here is what case? Genitive, right? The word of the queen. It's just like in modern English, the queen's word, right? So the queen has to be in the genitive case, right? Genitive feminine. So genitive feminine singular would be tare quene, right? Kill the king. The king there is the object. Kill someone, right? Nominative. So it would be tone kinning, right? Tone kinning. Masculine accusative singular is always tone, right? Very distinctive form. Number three, the queen kissed the king. So who is doing what to whom? The queen is the subject, right? So it has to be the nominative case, so it has to be seo queen, right? Seo queen, seo queen. And then kill the king there is the objective case or accusative case, so tone kinning, right? Same as number 2. So if no, we can call it a day today. So during the weekend, what you have to do is to familiarize yourself with case and case endings, right? And also, here on the last page, this is what we call the magic sheet. The magic sheet. Magic because it contains all the information that you need for the midterm exam. So I put everything in this one sheet. Everything in this one sheet, everything that we'll be talking about, and everything that we have talked about, meaning in terms of Old English grammar. So we haven't talked about verbs, right? So verbs will be discussed next week. So verbs are on your kind of right-hand side. Now, nouns are in here. Nouns are in here, right? So you see strong and weak, right? You see two main groups, strong and weak. And you see different genders, right? Masculine, neuter, and feminine. And then you might have short or long stem. You don't have to worry about those, right? So you'll see examples, right? Examples of nouns here. Like the first one, stan, is stone, the word stone, which is stone. The second word, ship, SC is pronounced SH, right? In Old English, ship. The next one is thing, the word thing. I have 2 things, I have 3 things, thing. Next one is giful, which is gift, right? Gift. Next one, sorg. Sorg is sorrow. Weak nouns, for example, nama. Nama is name, your name, the word name. Yege is the eye, noon, eye. So I should write down here, I think. So I, tunge is tongue, sunu is sun, man is man. So name, sorrow, gift, thing, ship, SHIP, right? Stone. So you have all these basic nouns, example nouns, right? And see the pattern of what we call conjugation, the pattern of inflections. So we have stone, ship, thing, gift, sorrow, name, eye, tongue, sun, and man, right? So all these basic nouns in Old English. And these nouns have all survived to modern English, right? So tongue, sun, man, eye, name, and so on. Okay? The bottom, on the bottom here, bottom left, so demonstrative pronoun, you have the word the or that or those could be used interchangeably. So say or that, so you can see this. So this is what we studied today. And then there's another form for this and those, right? The word this and those. So that's, this, and so on. Okay, in here. Next week, we'll study personal pronouns. and also adjectives that go with noun, and also verbs. Okay? So should I ask you to memorize this magic sheet for the midterm exam? I told you it's going to be very, very difficult, right? So see you guys back on Monday, and we'll go on to verbs and adjectives and strong verb, weak verbs, and so on.